Hey guys, so for our lesson today, our objective is I can identify and explain elements of poetry, including structure and rhyme scheme. I can write about elements of poetry. So you will have two activities that you will be doing today. The first one is a poetry assignment that you will do on Cami, and the second one is going to be a vowel sort that will be in Canvas. It's not an external link, it's going to be in Canvas. So if you remember from last week, we talked about poetry and we talked about the different elements of poetry. And poetries can tell a story, they can describe a situation, or can appeal to our senses. So a stanza is a group of lines within a poem, and stanzas can have as few as 2 lines, or they may have more. Some poems feature words that rhyme. So rhyming words are words that have the same ending sounds at the end of a line or stanza. So when we're talking about rhyming words in poems, they're going to need to be at the end of the lines or at the end of the stanzas. So while some poems do have rhyming words, not all poems have to have rhyming words. Many poems have a rhyme scheme or a pattern at the ends of the lines, and so the rhyme scheme can help you to create the poem's rhythm. When we are talking about a rhyme scheme, usually we label it by giving it letters. So words that rhyme together are given the same letter, and then if they are different, they don't have rhyming words, then they're given a different letter. So looking at our story, Dear Dragon, you can find this in your book, your reading book, your purple one. And I just want to reread the first page. And this is where the teacher is giving them their assignment. Hello, students. Our poetry and pen pal projects this year are combined. Upon your desk, you'll see the pen pals that you've been assigned. So as I'm looking this, I am noticing that there were some words that rhymed, and those words that rhymed were combined and assigned. They rhyme. So when I see this, it kind of makes me think, oh, this may be a poem because of the rhyming words. I also noticed that this has stanzas. So remember, a stanza can be 2 lines. So right here is a stanza, and then right here is a stanza. According to our anchor chart that we had, poems are usually written in stanzas, not paragraphs. So as we look at Blaze's letter that was on page 190, we want to look at how it's written. What are some rhyming words that we see? So I'm going to read this text, and then we'll talk about some of those rhyming words in the stanzas. Dear George Slayer, I also don't like writing, but I'll try it, I suppose. A fort is like a castle, right? I love attacking those. My favorite sport is skydiving. I jump near Folker Peak. Tomorrow is my birthday, but my party is next week. Sincerely, Blaze Dragomir. So as I was reading this, I did hear some rhyming words. I heard the word suppose and those. They both end in that O's sound. I heard peak and I heard week. So here's peak and week. They both end in the eek sound. All that was changed is the beginning sound. I also can look at this and I can find my stanzas. So if I look at how my poems are broken down, I can find stanzas. And remember, stanzas usually are separated by a little bit of a space. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stanzas in this letter or poem. There are 4 stanzas. All right, looking at page 88 to 89, we can see that there is another couple poems, and we're going to be focusing on the stanzas this time. So we're looking at how are the stanzas similar in each of these letters. And we're also going to be looking at trying to figure out the rhyme scheme. So as I'm looking at September 12th, it says, "Dear Blaze Dragomir, we haven't met each other and I don't know what to say. I really don't like writing, but I'll do it anyway. Yesterday, my dad and I designed a giant fort. I liked playing catch and soccer. What's your favorite sport?" So the first thing that I can see is that this poem, this poem has stanzas. There are lines grouped together and separated by a space. Now, I also heard a few things in there, and those were the rhyming words. So rhyming words have to happen at the end of a line or at the end of a stanza. So I can see say and anyway. And then I also see fort and sport. Those are rhyming words. So that's kind of breaking down my first poem. Let's look at the second one and see what I can find that is similar to the first poem. So October 31st, "Dear George Slayer, I also don't like writing, but I'll try it, I suppose. A fort is like a castle, right? I love attacking those. My favorite sport is skydiving. I jump near Folker Peak. Tomorrow is my birthday, but my party is next week." So again, I used this one earlier, and I noticed that there were also 4 stanzas. So I can find my 4 stanzas. And then I noticed that I have those rhyming words. So I can see suppose in those. I can see peak and week. So peak and week. So when I look at what I've circled, what I've identified as something that are similar, I can see that both poems have 4 stanzas, and I can see that they have 2 sets of rhyming words. So they both have these rhyming words right here, and then they have another set of rhyming words right here. So when I stop and I think about it, at the end of stanzas, say rhymes with anyway. So at the end of stanza 1, say rhymes with anyway, that is at the end of stanza 2. Just like in my other poem, at the end of stanza 1, I have suppose, and it rhymes with those at the end of stanza 2. So it seems like in stanza 1, in both of these poems, stanza 1 and stanza 2 rhyme. Same thing with the 2 and 3. Same thing with stanzas 3 and 4. So at the end of stanza 3, I see the word fort, and at the end of stanza 4, I see the word sport in those rhymes. So the ends of stanzas 3 and 4 rhyme. Same thing over here, peak and week. So the end of stanza 3 rhymes with the end of stanza 4 and this one. So when I'm looking at these poems and I'm saying how they are similar, I know the end of the first stanza rhymes with the end of the second stanza. The end of the third stanza rhymes with the end of the fourth stanzas. So these are very similar. If I wanted to go through and I wanted to label my rhyme scheme, I could look at each line. I like labeling each rhyme. So I would call this A, B, and then my next line doesn't rhyme with anything, so I'm going to call it C. But anyway rhymes with say, so that becomes B. And then I have to start again. This one is going to be D, and then E. And nothing rhymes with soccer, so that gets a new letter, F. But sport and fort rhymes, so that goes to E. So this rhyme scheme is A, B, C, B D, E, F, E. So it kind of goes back to that second letter in each stanza. All right. So what you are going to be doing today is looking at the story as a whole. So you're going to be doing an activity where you look at the whole story and you're going to be answering a couple questions. The first part is writing some rhyming pairs. So look through the text and see if you can identify 5 rhyming pairs. So you need to write down at least 2 words for each rhyming pair. So like in this one, I can see get and I can see pets. So they rhyme. So you would write get and pets. All right, so your second part that you will be doing is all about imagery. So this week we talked a lot about visualizing, making that picture in your head. So imagery are words that help you to imagine. So you are going to find an example of imagery in one of the letters, and then you're going to write the lines that help you to image or to visualize. So an example would be the page when George writes about his towering volcano blasting lava everywhere. And I could picture that science experiment where there's volcanoes blasting everywhere. The third part of this activity is that you are going to look at the letter dated October 31st. I have it right here. And you are going to be answering a couple questions. So first part says, who wrote this poem? So you're going to write it on the line. How many stanzas are in this poem? And then it says, are there any line breaks between each stanza? So that's going to be a yes or a no question. After you complete this part of it, you're going to go hit your next button, and it's going to take you to a Canvas quiz where you will be sorting vowel sounds into long vowels and short sounds.